Welcome to Heroes First Podcast, sponsored by Fund the First, the nation's leading verified crowdfunding platform for first responders, military, and medical professionals. And now, your host, broadcasting from Long Island, New York, Robert Garland.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining this week's episode of Heroes First Podcast. Each week, you will hear from a new guest that portrays excellence in the first responder, military, or medical professional field. If you are an active or retired member of the service, or even a family member or a friend, then this show is for you. I would like to now present you with our guest for episode 3 of Heroes First Podcast, Josh Dubin. Hey, Josh, how are you?
Good. How are you? Man, after that intro, now I feel like I'm pumped up.
Yeah. Well, wait till you hear the show. It's got like some nice, intro music and everything. It's great.
I caught episode 1. It does. The podcast is coming together for being 3 episodes now. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We have a lot of people. Actually, I think we got 14 more people lined up, which is incredible.
Wow.
Yeah. So we get content. You know this. You got your YouTube channel. We'll obviously talk about that in a moment. But Josh, thank you for jumping on the show. This is great.
I appreciate you.
What you're going through right now, and obviously we'll get into it. I feel for you. I know you came to us at Fund the First to have a campaign. You're the beneficiary of a campaign on our platform because of an illness that you're suffering from. And if you'd like to talk about that, I'd love for our listeners to understand what you're going through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, hopefully you get some support.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of start with the backstory because I do have a moral to a big, long cancer story. I do have a moral to the story. So I was working, a cop in Southern California, as you've seen on the news and as everybody in the entire country has seen on the news, we've had a lot of civil unrest and different things like that. So I was working a lot. We all are, they put us on at some point, they put us on 12 hours on, 12 hours off, cancel your days off. Then that kind of cancels when it dies out, it goes back. Anyways, long story short. So we're all working, all first responders are really, working hard right now across the country. And I started to get a little pain in my hip and I thought it was from my gun belt and all the gear that we're wearing, all the riot gear and stuff like that. And then I popped up with a fever, a little bit of chest pains, a cough. And I'm like, oh boy, I got COVID from somebody. That's immediately what I thought. Right. So I go to the doctor, I get a COVID test, it comes back negative. And I'm like, man, the next day I don't feel good. And again, this came on like from 0 to COVID symptoms in 2 seconds. And so I go to the doctor again and I'm like, hey doc, I'm still having these symptoms. I know the first test came back negative. And he said, sometimes we get false negatives. Let's do another COVID test. Came back negative again. Go back to the doctor third time. This is urgent care doctor. Urgent care doctor asks me, hey, have you been on an airplane, like long flight, 10, 12-hour flight? I'm like, no, I'm working. I haven't been on an airplane. He's like, I ask you that, maybe you've been sitting for a long time. Maybe you got a blood clot. And I was like, no, we haven't been sitting for a long time. We've been working. And so he gives me a random blood test and the random blood test comes back super elevated. He's like, dude, you got a blood clot in your lungs. You need to go to the emergency room right now, get a CT scan of your lungs and we'll get this worked out. It's not a big deal. It's fine. Okay. So I go to the emergency room. I get that CT scan. Doctor comes back out and goes, you want good news or bad news? And I said, I'll take the good news. Well, you don't have COVID. Your lungs are clear. You're looking good. Bad news is there's a giant tumor in your lungs and about 20 other ones surrounding it. And he's like, hey, I'm just an emergency room doctor, but that could only be one thing. He's like, you should probably call your regular doctor, hook you up with an oncologist and stuff like that. Start getting a biopsy of that. So literally it goes from perfectly healthy working to 3 weeks later, hey, you got a tumor here, you got a tumor on your kidney, you got a tumor on your bone, you got 20 other tumors in your lungs, you have full-blown stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh my God.
Literally in 3 weeks, perfectly healthy working to I couldn't even walk up the stairs. I was in so much pain. My whole body was hurting. I had a fever 24 hours a day. I had a fever, 102 plus, and it was crazy. So the moral of that story, not to be a big, sad, depressing story, the moral of the story is I didn't go to the doctor for like a year and a half. It's very difficult to go to the doctor right now. We do Zoom doctor's appointments. We do virtual stuff and stuff like that. Take the time to go to the doctor. Literally even if you think it's something little, do the Zoom appointment or try and go into the doctor if your doctor allows you to. Take the time to go to the doctor. That's the moral of my story. So on October 26th, 2020, about 90 days ago or so, I have a Zoom meeting with an oncologist, and he goes, okay, we did the biopsy in your chest. We did the biopsy on your, here. Let me give you the full package. So he gives me everything I have. Here's all the medical terminology. This is what you have, blah, 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 blah. He goes, we don't have time, because I have an HMO medical insurance, and we have good, as law enforcement, we have good medical insurance. We don't have time to get the approvals and stuff like that. You're going to show up in the emergency room tomorrow and you're going to say that you have chest pains, which I did, but it wasn't heart related. But you show up to the emergency room and you say chest pains, you know what happens. All hell's going to break loose and everybody's going to freak out and stuff like that. And they're going to, do the whole thing that they do when you say that. And I'm going to get on the phone with them and I'm going to admit you, and we're going to start chemotherapy tomorrow. That we have no time. We are weeks away from having a major freaking issue here. So that's how I did it. And then I went inpatient right then and I did chemotherapy. That was round number 1. I stay in the hospital anywhere between 5 and 7 days. I come home for 14 days. I go back in the hospital for 5 or 7 days.
So how's it going? How's the chemo working?
I've had one scan. I have another scan on Wednesday. They do these things called PET scans, which I'm not no expert on anything like that. But the way they explained it to me was they inject you with some radioactive sugar, because the number one thing that cancer feeds off of is sugar. So they inject you with some radioactive sugar. That's just my brain, how I and then they put you in a CT scan machine. They scan your whole body, and then they're able to see where the cancer is lighting up and what's active and different things like that. So, and then we'll know how the chemotherapy is working, because I've had 4 rounds already. Each round progressively gets a little more spicy. The mix gets a little more spicy each time. So hopefully it's working well. They gave me, they said, based on the fact that I'm, under 40 years old, I'm in relatively good health other than that. They gave me about a 70% chance. They're like 70% chance you're going to be cured. Okay. And they're like, maybe a little bit less percentage, because normally the cancer that I have kind of hangs out in your lungs. It doesn't go attack your bones and on your kidney and stuff like that. I just happen to be the lucky guy that got that, but that's what they told me. So I'm staying optimistic, positive, and really for anybody, I'm all new to this, but you really got to take it day by day. No, like stuff like this podcast, sitting at home and just watching TV and YouTube and stuff like that. I looked forward to being on this podcast with you. It's something entertaining and stuff like that. Cause you really got to take it day by day, cause you don't know how you're going to feel. Some days I feel like a freaking dump truck, and other days I feel energetic. It's weird what it does to your body.
Well, you're in excellent spirits, which is incredible. You look great. You sound great.
I feel like, I feel like, some of the nurses told me that too. They're like, man, you're pretty happy for everything going on, but what else can you do?
Yeah.
You just try.
Well, you got to stay happy, because stress brings you down. Stress makes your immune system lower.
Exactly.
It messes you up. So
and they told me,
your spirits up,
a lot of people reached out to me, especially in the beginning, and you got to keep your faith and you got to stay positive. And that's 50% of the battle right there. Because man, I'll tell you what, mentally it's
straining. Yeah. Yeah, no, I bet. But listen, you got your family, everyone's there to support you. And you got this from the first campaign that thousands of people have seen so far, and actually I'll share the screen for a second so everyone, our listeners could take a look at your campaign. Make sure I share the right website screen. So here we go. So this is Josh's campaign right here.
Hey, look at me with a beard.
There we go. That's great. So Josh, who's Ashley? Who started this campaign?
That's my sister. So backstory to the whole thing. I'm not that guy. I didn't want this campaign.
Well, listen, no cops are. I'm the same way. As a cop, no one wants to ask for help.
I literally was like, I told her, don't do this. And she's like, hey, my sister battled cancer about 2 years ago or so. And my sister met a really good holistic oncologist, and that helps with supplements in your diet and different things like that. It's a medical doctor, an oncologist that specializes in cancer. And my sister said, hey, not only are you going to go to your doctor with your normal medical doctor, but you're also going to hire this holistic oncologist, which is phenomenally expensive. And the supplements are phenomenally expensive too.
Right.
Not to mention, and I learned this just by trial and error, I guess. Even though we, as law enforcement, we have great, well, at least I thought was pretty great medical insurance. There's stuff, you show up at the pharmacy with 13 prescriptions from my doctor, and they're like, well, that one's not covered, that one's not covered, and that one's not covered, but the rest are. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, it never makes any sense.
It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Or, you get a procedure done and they're like, well, here's the bill for it. And I'm like, well, I thought that was under I don't have like you got to reach a certain limit and then you get, that's not the insurance I have. And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't understand. And then you couple that on with my wife who does hair. She's a hairstylist. Los Angeles County is still locked down. All the salons are closed and everything like that. Not to mention, when you're on chemotherapy, your immune system gets real low. You're susceptible to a lot of things, especially COVID, but the flu and anything, all your white blood cells are down and stuff like that. So without being able to work anyways, but what happens if my wife goes back to work and sees 20 people a day to do their hair? What's the chances of her bringing something home to me? And then, especially with everything going on in my lungs and stuff like that. So we had to make the difficult decision, even though
COVID or not, COVID or not, you're still susceptible. Yeah.
Right. So she's not working. We got these medical bills. And then, I hired this doctor, the holistic oncologist, which I truly, honestly believe anybody going through this, that the natural route, although I'm not that guy either, but I bounce back after the chemo, I feel like a lot faster based on the supplements that I'm taking. A lot of natural stuff, cut out all the sugar, do lower carb, more plant-based kind of. We have a YouTube cooking channel. I love to barbecue. So we're big.
I can't wait to talk about that.
I want to hear about you change your diet a little bit and you do some of this holistic stuff. And chemotherapy is horrible. It's horrible chemicals. When they come in and hook these bags up that are pumping into your chest, they're in like biohazard suits with the gloves and the goggles and the whole package. So it's nasty, nasty chemicals. So I'm able to bounce back a lot faster, I think, because of that. And it's
holistic treatments are great. They're definitely great. We hear a lot of people that talk about them all the time. And it's like, big pharma wants to put on you all these big chemicals and these drugs and everything that some aren't even tested. But meanwhile, there's been thousands of years of studies for some plant that grows in your backyard. And you're like, well, if that helps, then why not?
And it's only because of the campaign that I'm able to do that. So to say that I'm blessed is an absolute understatement. And it makes me feel so weird. And I think it's really changed my heart and my outlook on life in general when this is all said and done, assuming that I beat this and everything like that. It really has changed my heart. There's total strangers that have donated on this campaign that I have no idea who there's people that have donated hundreds of dollars that just say anonymous. I have no idea who they are. And I'll never in my life find out who they are. That is crazy. Yeah. And it's only because of that, and it's only because of how blessed that we've been that I'm able to hire this crazy expensive holistic oncologist, that my wife isn't able to work and stay home and take care of me. That the kids were taken very well care of during Christmas, that we had an excellent Christmas all together. And it's only because of that. So I'm just truly, truly grateful. And as a first responder, fund the first, that's your only option. I mean, there is no other option. If you look into some of the other crowdfunding platforms, you'll quickly find out that this is your only option, that you guys are phenomenal.
Thank you. It was, listen, it's important to provide our first responders, military, medical professionals with a trusted source to raise money. And especially for someone like you, you're such a humble person, so happy and everything that you're going through. Now, these people that donated anonymously to you, hopefully they're listening to this show and say, wow, it's a humbling experience for them to know that you received this support. And it's not always about the money. I mean, think about how humbled you are now and how happy, you received all this support from people you don't even know. And they could be anywhere in the world. Right. Anywhere.
Right. And it really is. It really is. I tell you, I've broken down so many times. It's just crazy the amount of support. And I never was that wasn't me. I was the more like, hey, and everybody's like, oh, you're a first responder, you're doing good and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, okay, great. And then you just go on with your day and this is your job and this is what your calling was to do and stuff like that. But I never really truly felt how it changed my heart just absolutely completely. It's crazy. We're
so happy to hear that. I get chills when you say something like that because I know that you're receiving the type of support that you deserve. You're out there every day, you're protecting the streets out there in California, And then to go through what you're going through so unexpectedly, and now to be able to have a support system that provides for you, in something that you never even dreamed of, and you didn't even want. You didn't even want.
Yeah. I was finally I broke down and I told my sister, I said, because she was going to use another platform. She's like, I'm doing it. One, you can't stop me. I'm doing it. And I was like, okay, listen, if you're going to do it, this is the only platform that you can use. I said, you're not going to use the other platform because so much of the money doesn't go to the recipient. It just goes to a big corporation.
Yeah.
And so,
and it's important too. Now the donors know you came on our platform, you verified the money's only going to you. And that's it. And you're able to support your family now, with everything that you're going through, support yourself. And it's great. And listen, I showed the campaign before. Anyone listening, if they want to donate, they go right over to fundthefirst.com, search for Josh under law enforcement campaigns, and you can still donate. The campaign's up and running. It's over. I mean, it's almost at $15,000 now, which is incredible. And it's had what? Let's see, 167 donors.
Yeah. And I was just diagnosed on October 26th. And you could see my picture with a beard. I'll tell you, after my first round, I literally itched my face, and all of a sudden just like,
oh my goodness,
it was just crazy. Look, I have no eyebrows now. I'm bald with no eyebrows. Just
you look great though. You look great.
So it was amazing how fast that it just kicks your butt. Those chemicals are really something. Hopefully it
will
kills everything it needs to kill. Yeah,
it will. You say your prayers at night. Everything. Yep. And you're going to beat this. Don't you worry. You're going to beat this. And you have a giant support system. You got your law enforcement family. You got your immediate family. You got people across country. I'm in New York. I support you. I'm here for you. You could call me anytime you want. We're here for you. It's important. I come from a law enforcement family myself. My wife's a cop. My father is retired. Her father is. So we all feel for each other. We're all here for each other no matter
Absolutely.
what. But let's talk about your law enforcement career for a second. How much time you have on the job?
So I got hired in 2005. When we get hired, we have to work in the jail because we control the jails. And so worked in the jail only for like a year. A lot of people do a lot of years in the jail. But I wanted to go out to patrol. I wanted to, drive the police car, lights and sirens, that whole thing. And so I worked a couple different I think you guys call them precincts, but we call them stations.
Yes.
A couple different stations. About 9.5 years, I drove the police car around, and then they promoted me to detective. Did that for 5 years, and then they promoted me to a higher level detective, and that's currently my position. Well, I do a lot of work from home now and stuff like that, because when I get out of the hospital, it kicks my butt.
Yeah, that's excellent. So it's basically like in the NYPD, we have a grade system. Like I'm a detective also. So we have third grade, second grade, first grade. So I'm assuming you'd be like a second grade detective.
Yeah, well, we call them bonus 1 or bonus 2. We only have 2. So I'm a bonus 2 detective.
Excellent.
And I do fraud and cyber crimes with an emphasis on anything cyber, internet, any hacking stuff, scam stuff. If you remember do you remember watching on TV the Ring doorbells? People were hacking them and talking to it. We had a case, that was my case, one of those.
Oh wow.
Different things like that, like cyber-ish type of stuff. It's really, really interesting to me.
Any dark web stuff? Because I was in narcotics. I was in narcotics for a while, and we did
narcotics, gun sales off the dark web, and all that.
I was one of the few we actually bought drugs with Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
It was wild.
Bitcoin, anything Bitcoin. So anything like cyber-ish related goes to the special team that I'm on. So it's awesome. It's super, super interesting. And it's a lot of stuff that a lot of even the prosecution and stuff a lot of it hasn't been done. A lot of this is new stuff. Like when did we ever have doorbells that have cameras on them that people hack into and stuff like nobody's ever, this is all new stuff.
And then the way to track them, you got to track their IP address and then determine if that IP address actually is bogus or if it's a real IP address, then determine where that IP address is located and say, okay, who's this who bought this IP address based on, oh man, the investigation just goes on with that. That's great what you do. I love it. That's awesome.
So
have you had any big cases you could talk about, or?
I mean, we've done anything from a guy doing machine guns on the dark web, a lot of Bitcoin stuff, fraudulent stuff like that. And we get the standard stuff, that, hi, this is the Social Security Administration, let us log onto your computer and move your money around on your bank account, a lot of stuff like that. Right. And people need to be aware, and I know that's kind of like, when I say that, everybody gets like a smile, like, oh, I've heard of that, because everybody's kind of heard of that. But people need to be aware that when these are not legitimate government agencies, it's scammers.
Oh yeah.
And so, and it's hard to catch some of these people. A lot of them are out of the country, China, India, Russia, stuff like that. And so obviously we don't have prosecution in other countries like that. We would have to work with the FBI if the country cooperates with us, and different things
Interpol
like
and all
that.
those things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you really
tough.
got to be careful about letting people log onto your computer, into your bank account, what you're giving, information you're giving to people, and different things like that. You know, when in doubt, hang up the phone and call back the real agent. Google the number of the real government agency and call them back and ask them if you think that it's, you know.
Yeah. And now the big thing that people do is a lot of phishing scams. You know, you see it in emails all the time. You'll see, oh, you've had an undetected password attempt
Click
at
here,
Instagram. Click here.
Right.
And you click it and it just phishes your password.
Right. And the website that it pulls up looks very close to the real website, but they really just want your username and password. And what happens when you use the same password for every single thing? So now I have your password, you know, John Smith 123. I'm just going to try it on your bank account. I'm just going to try it on your Amazon. I'm going to try it on this. And now you use the same password. I'm into everything now.
Yep.
So I think that's a good message that people need to know, to use different passwords, or use some of those password like LastPass. You know, that's just who I use. Those password changers.
Yeah. There's 1Password also.
Right.
Yeah, 1Password is a huge organization. I mean, obviously, we're big on the business side. I always see, you know, who got funded with certain things. And 1Password, oh my God, with private investors and stuff, they're through the roof. So that's the one to use. That's definitely a big one. But no, the cyber frauds are horrible right now, and that's what's going to happen with everything. Everything's becoming cyber.
Yeah,
you know, everything's cyber. Even money. It's going to turn into whether or not Bitcoin becomes incorporated into everyday life.
And I think ultimately, I do think that ultimately it will, maybe not tomorrow, but within years to come. And even on law enforcement, you know, you used to be scared of, I remember going to the academy and they're like, hey, take different routes on your way home. You know, don't put thin blue line flags on the back of your car, you know, don't wear your uniform home, and different things like that in your car. And that was the big thing. I'm less scared of that nowadays than somebody putting my home address on the internet, or putting where my kids go to school on the internet. I feel like cops are being targeted in a cyber aspect now. I know even on the freeway system out here in Southern California, there was an officer involved shooting, and they put the officer's home address hanging from the freeway on the banner for every single car to drive by. It's a different type of warfare now against first responders. It's not, hey, I'm going to find out where you live and come and beat you up. I'm less scared of that than the cyber aspect, because everything's going cyber now.
I'm going to make public everything about you.
Right.
Everything about you is going public.
Or I'm going to go in and mess with your credit, or open credit cards and different things. We've handled cases like that all the time, and it's horrible, because how do you do that? It's, you know, and especially like our elderly victims, horrible. You know, they're sending $100,000, or they're opening credit cards in their names. And these people are like, no, he told me he was from the Social Security office. And these are poor 80, 90-year-old people that have no idea what happened, and that's their whole life savings. It's absolutely it's horrific.
It happens all the time. It's horrible. It's horrible. We see it all the time. But at least, listen, there's people like you, there's people cross country in all different departments handling this kind of stuff. And, you know, will it ever go away? Probably not. No. You know, it's always going to be there. It's just the awareness, though, you know, bringing awareness to it, and having people understand, listen, you get a phone call like that, hang up. You get an email like that, ignore it. You know, set good passwords, you know, use 2FA, two-factor authentication is huge. And a lot of people, they're like, oh, I don't want to use it because I don't want to have to go to a separate app on my phone and then get the code and then input it into the website. You know, we actually have that in Fund the First. You know, even though we store no personal information on the website, we allow users, if they want to use 2FA, go ahead.
Right.
You know, go ahead.
Which is excellent.
2FA. Yeah, it's great. 2FA is awesome. And, you know, I've taken it a step further. I've used private keys for things, you know, but people don't even know what a private key is, you know, what's a private key, you know? So, but that's obviously with the crypto space and all that kind of stuff, but crypto, it's up and coming. I
do believe so, especially with, you know, you see everything going on today, and we could go down rabbit holes of politics and conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but it's decentralized. Nobody owns it. No government can control it theoretically. Unless
the government decides to make their own coin. And
Correct.
that's probably what's going to happen. So Bitcoin, if you look at it, Bitcoin in circulation, what has a couple million coins, right? It's not a
Yeah.
high circulation, which is why the value is so high. And
Right.
I've been in the crypto space for about 6 years.
Oh, okay.
So I wish I got in back in 2010,
Oh
but
man,
I
you
still got,
needed to buy about 20 Bitcoin back in 2010.
oh my, yeah, for $100 each. Oh my God. But not even 2010. I think they were a couple of dollars each,
Yep.
$5.
Yep.
So, and I know people that did, and they made a lot of
A lot of
money,
money.
a lot of money. Luckily, I got in, early, and I just trade. I play with it. I trade around, and it's cool. There's a lot of different projects, but the problem, what's going to happen is Bitcoin, I don't think will ever be integrated into everyday society. Maybe right now it is. They're allowing payments for whatever, but it's a slow coin. It's not the instant transaction that other coins have.
Right.
What's going to happen is these big banks, Chase, Citibank, all these big JP Morgan, they're going to create their own coins that coincide with the bank.
I can
Now
see that. I can see that. But
and
the
then it's
banks are
gonna,
also playing, as JP Morgan, I think it was their CEO was talking, trash about Bitcoin. He was investing on the backside.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
you know what?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
but I could see, I definitely agree with you. I could see, because what is it, Ethereum or Ethereum now?
Ethereum.
Those
Yeah.
are like the two hot
So
ones.
Bitcoin, Ethereum, there's XRP, which I am not a fan of. I don't know why people are a fan of it, because it's fast. It was once 0.0002, and then it went up to $3,
Right.
okay, but look what's in the surplus. Look what's circulating. It's over billions of coins.
Right.
It's never going to go up to 10, 15, $20.
Right.
A great one is Chainlink. Chainlink is it's I'm not going to get into all the technological terms, but it basically it's it protects smart contracts. So a lot of these smart contracts that companies have that Ethereum doesn't have, Link has. So which is nice. That's a good crypto. But what's going to happen? If you could track the blockchain, right? So every transaction that you make with Bitcoin, you could track exactly where the IP address was, how much that wallet has, but you can't track the individual.
Correct.
What's going to happen? The government is going to want to track the individual. So they'll create the coin that's attached to your individual bank account. So if you make a transaction, even though it's instant, if you're buying something, let's say from a coffee shop in California from New York, or vice versa, they'll be able to track that transaction because you use it via TD Bank, let's say.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So they'll be able to track it. Yeah, I think that's the only way it's going to be integrated into everyday society. Right now, obviously, there's people buying houses in LA and Hollywood with Bitcoin. It's crazy. And if they accept it, there's real estate agencies that accept it. Go ahead. Go right ahead. But it's we're moving fast. I mean, and I feel bad for the older generation because basically every day technology is doubling almost. And it's how you keep up.
Totally. Especially, in California, they legalized marijuana, but you can't use a credit card to buy marijuana because it's federally illegal. So that's where you buy whatever you're going to buy in Bitcoin or cash. And so that's why these people are buying houses in Bitcoin, or they're, paying the person that's selling the house, hey, you hold my mortgage for me, because they can't go to a bank and be like, well, I'm a marijuana dealer. Legally, because the bank won't recognize that. Even if you have a legal shop on, Main Street selling marijuana, it's legal. The banks don't recognize that.
Right.
So, and that's why they all have massive armed security in front of the shop, because they're not taking credit cards. Nope. So there's only one thing that they got in that marijuana shop. So,
yeah. And there's actually, I don't know if you knew this, there's people that will buy your crypto. It's called a person-to-person sale. So P2P sale. And they'll buy your crypto with straight up cash.
Yes,
we had them in the street. It's crazy.
Yeah, we had a case like that, but you become like a money there's some federal laws still.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you know that it's, hey, well, I got all this crypto from selling drugs on the dark web or whatever the case may be. You can't do those. There's still federal laws that protect against that, and so we've had some cases like that.
Yeah.
So very interesting stuff, and technology is moving so fast that if you're not really into it and you don't have an interest into that, it blows by you. I feel like. It's not mainstream enough yet.
That was something we were discussing. We were like, do we want to accept crypto on Fund the First? Why not? Accept Bitcoin. People have it, at their disposal. And what's $100 of Bitcoin if you have 20 Bitcoin?
Right. Nothing.
It's nothing. So, but yeah, we could go down a rabbit hole with this for hours. For hours. But I want to get into your cooking show. I mean, this is great. I checked out your YouTube, and what's the channel again?
The Cooking Cop and Babe. So Babe is
my wife.
She does most of the cooking. I do most of the camera work.
I was looking at it. I was getting so jealous seeing some of the stuff you cook because I go outside, I use my Traeger in the backyard, and I light everything on fire. And my wife's like, "What the hell's that?" But what you're making, oh my God! And you got thousands. You got what, 50,000 followers on there?
Well, we have a couple thousand on YouTube, couple thousand on Instagram. I don't know. It really started as, I feel like every first responder, whether you're in the medical field, firefighter, cop, whatever, you need to have some type of off-duty hobby. It's the people that, and you've probably heard this too, the people that retire that only lived for the job, they make it 1 year after retirement and they have a heart attack or something.
It's done.
Like that.
Yeah.
But the people that love fishing or hunting or traveling or cooking or whatever the case may be, once they retire, they're living these long, happy, healthy, wealthy lives. So it kind of started as like an off-duty thing. I'm like, what can I do? And I didn't know how to heat up a bowl of top ramen when I started that channel. I knew a little bit about YouTube. I knew a little bit about social media, but I didn't know anything about cooking. I was a hideous cook. I'm a hideous cook. But so we started that, and we've met so many great people in like the cooking community, because no matter what your politics are, your religion or your skin color, it doesn't matter. Everybody loves food, and everybody loves, especially if you're into cooking, that's just one thing that kind of bonds us all together. It's food. That's why we go out to restaurants. Well, when they're open again, that's why we go out to restaurants and we gather. We'll pay $100 for a steak that I could cook just as good here, but you want the ambiance of a restaurant. You want to be around people. You want to eat, enjoy, laugh. And so everybody kind of has that in common. And so we started that, and it was a little off-duty hobby. And now especially, I don't know how this whole thing is going to play out, but you can make some money off of YouTube and social media. Obviously there's influencers and stuff that make millions of dollars, but it's a second job. It's a hustle. It's not easy, but it's fun, and we really enjoy it. And we eat all the food that we make. So,
so what made you actually start the channel though?
You know what? I got a GoPro one day, and I started like filming my son. He was like sledding and stuff like that. And I put it on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. But I'm like, but nobody wants to watch my son sled down a hill. That's, whatever. And then I started watching cooking channels because I got more and more into cooking because I wanted to get healthy. I used to weigh a lot more. I wanted to get healthy, not eat out as much, not eat fast food as much. I wanted to make more food in my house. And my wife always loved cooking, and she was always way, way better than I was. And so, I don't know, we just started finding new recipes and stuff like that. And now we're on like the hunt now. And now it's different. It's even evolved. We've been doing it for a couple of years now. Now it's evolved to like these short under a minute videos and TikTok cooking. There's people with 5 million, 10 million people on TikTok making these 1 minute recipes that you'll see all these trends of how you fold the tortilla this way and these sandwiches. So it's even changed from more like long form content to now shorter. Cause I think people's, especially younger people, their attention span is about,
oh, gone. 30 seconds. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah. So what's your favorite thing to cook?
We enjoy barbecuing a lot. Like today, I'm gonna do pulled pork, which it's not very difficult. You put it on there, and it takes hours and hours and hours. So you just sit here while it's doing its thing. But we enjoy barbecuing a lot. We do a lot of stuff inside the house too, different recipes, pastas and stuff like that. Again, I'm trying to change my diet a little bit. So once I got diagnosed, and I was feeling miserable all the time. And now with the chemo and stuff, we haven't been able to film as much, but once we get back to it, we're probably going to have to cater our recipes more to what our diet is now. And hopefully people like to see that. Cause everybody likes to see goodness and, the chocolates and this and that. Of course, everybody likes to see.
Listen, you can make it and send it to me cross country. Okay.
There you go.
I'll eat it.
And so I don't know what we're going to kind of jump back into the game, filming and stuff like that. But barbecue is what I really enjoy doing. I'm not 100% great at it. Some of these barbecue people on YouTube are fantastic, and they're making ridiculous stuff. And so we've met a lot of them. We've met a ton of people in real life off YouTube, and they're just the nicest people in the world. Especially the barbecue people just are the nicest people in the world.
Have you ever gone to a cook-off? Have you gone to any of those things or no?
Locally here, nothing major.
Did you win?
But we didn't win. No.
Oh no. Okay.
But we don't have like the big, like in the Midwest and stuff, they have those big, like legit barbecue competitions. Like it's serious. You win thousands of dollars. I would just like to go and see one of those in person, not even enter it. I just want to see some of the things. They stay up all night long preparing one little tiny plate for the judges, and you put your number on it so the judges don't know who it is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
There's a company we're looking to partner with. They're actually, I believe they're a nonprofit organization. I can't say their name because we're still in talks about it. But if we partner with them, we're thinking about doing an event, a cook-off for first responders, military, medical professionals. Basically, bring your own grill, bring everything, and then make whatever your specialty is. I like to make ribs. Ribs is a big one.
Are you good at ribs?
Yeah. I'll use the Traeger. I'll put it at, what will I do?
See, there's a whole controversy about Traegers. So,
what's that?
Well, I mean, a Traeger is a pellet smoker. For those that don't know, you just turn it on and set the dial.
Yeah. Yes.
Kind of like my oven, right?
It's easy. It's easy to use. Yeah. So, I mean, with the Traeger, what's nice is I'll do my dry rub. I have my secret ingredients for my dry rub. Obviously, you take the ribs out, you peel off the skin, you dry it off, you put the dry rub on, and I'll put it in the fridge for a little while, for a couple hours. Let the dry rub settle. Yeah. Oh yeah. Then I put it in the Traeger at like 180. I do 6 hours covered.
Okay.
I do 6 hours covered. Then I open it up, and for 3 hours I put it up to about 240, and I pour apple juice all over it.
Okay. So that's low and slow.
Yeah, yeah. So it's saturated. So it's cooking for almost 10 hours.
Right.
And then it falls off the bone. Oh, it's great. It's great. But I like spicy, so I put in a lot of cayenne and stuff like that.
I like it.
Yeah, it comes out great, but that's the only thing I know how to cook.
Well, with the Traeger, there's a lot of options on there too. That's why.
Yeah.
And I'm no barbecue expert, but I always find it funny when people like harass the Traeger owners, and they even make like little meme videos and stuff like that. Like, oh wow, you turned your oven on and stuff like that. Meanwhile, they have like these little pits with the wood in it and this and that, and, the whole thing. And you got to open the vents a certain way because you're getting too much air, and then your fire changes temperature and this and that.
Well, at least their stuff tastes good. I mean,
yeah,
it tastes good. What do you use a grill or no with anything?
We have a Weber kettle, which is the classic Weber. I feel like if you're new to the barbecue game, that is the most versatile. They're $100.
Yeah, it's easy.
It can smoke. It could do really hot stuff. It could, do 180 degrees for a long period of time. It's the most versatile barbecue, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
We also have a pit barrel cooker, which is a barrel. Pit Barrel actually sent it to us. Mom and pop company in the Midwest. Phenomenal people, really, really down to earth, awesome people. And they sent it to us with like a thin blue line flag on it. Really, really nice. Hey, just make videos on your channel. And, if you like it, give us a shout out. And it makes the ribs hang. So they're just perfect. I mean, awesome. They have recipes on their website. Hey, you light your charcoal like this, keep the lid on, hang the ribs for this time. And they have it like down. It's crazy. They have it like down to a science. And it just makes phenomenal food. I love it. So we use those two things right now. And then we're looking to get a new griddle. We had one, but I got rid of it. Like the flat top griddles that you see at like the diners and stuff like that. So we're looking to get a new one of those.
Almost like the one, if you ever watch The Office, you watch The Office, please say yes.
Yes.
So like the one Michael Scott burned his foot on.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. But you can make really good like stir fry and different things on it like that. So between those it's just fun to be. We have like a little patio outside. It's fun to be outside, barbecuing, cooking, hanging out with your family. I don't know.
You do a lot of vegetables too, or no?
Yeah. Especially now.
Yeah. What about fish?
I don't know.
So much?
Not so much. I can get down with tuna, but not salmon. A lot of people
really.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a weird thing about salmon.
What about sushi?
But I like sushi. I love sushi.
Oh, you did that? Oh, all right. Yeah. That's weird that you have a weird thing with salmon.
Not salmon. Not salmon. Salmon's gross. And fish, yes, not salmon.
Oh man. No, this is great.
We really enjoy the YouTube thing. And anybody that ever has thought about starting YouTube or doing YouTube, you can make some money on it. But if you're new and just want to play around and meet good people, everybody has a phone, and these phones, what do they record in 4K? Some of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you can edit the videos on your phone now. I mean, give it a try. It's super fun.
It's great. I hope all the listeners definitely take a look at your website. The YouTube channel, basically. It'd be pretty cool. Definitely pretty cool. I'm going to share it with a lot of people because I liked your videos. I was checking them out. I'm like, oh, these are great videos.
Yeah. And you know what? It's so funny. If I look back, so we have 300 videos now. If you look back at like video number 9, 10, 11, boy, they are terrible.
Yeah, just get better as time goes on.
You just get better. Just like anything you do. I mean, you get better as you do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You got to watch Salt Bay, do a
Yep.
little sprinkle. Actually, I went out and I bought that salt the other day. What is it called? Something with an M. It's special salt. It's finishing salt.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I tried to make a video flicking it off my elbow, but it wasn't working. It was just going all over the place. It was good. But no, this is great. I love talking to you, Josh. This is excellent. Before we run out of time, and I'm sure you could hear my son screaming in the background. Apologize for that. I just want to ask you two questions that I like to ask all of our guests on our show.
Okay.
So the first one, obviously being law enforcement is excellent what you do, and thank you for for everyone that you served, throughout your community and everything you do. But if you were to do it all over again, would you go into law enforcement? Would you go into a different first responder, military, medical professional, or would you do something totally different?
Man, that's a really good question. And I that kind of resonates home with me because I have a 10-year-old and I always ask him, what are you going to do? Because he's like me. I didn't really like school. I mean, I did okay. I was an average student. I wasn't like, a star student, but he's kind of like me. He doesn't really like it, but he does okay kind of thing. And I'm like, so what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to be a cop. That's what I want to do. I want to be a cop.
Wow. Okay.
And now, and so I've been a cop, 16 years, and it has dramatically changed since when I started. But would I do it all over again? I don't know. I would have to list out the pros and cons. It's a great career. And it is still very rewarding, especially I do, from driving the police car, pulling over a car for speeding and finding a loaded gun or, whatever in the car, very rewarding. You did that. The cop that did that guy wasn't going to get caught unless that cop did that. Very rewarding. Now getting some elderly lady's $80,000 back and catching the person that scammed her out of it, very rewarding. Mm-hmm. So yeah, 100%. And we make good money. We're not rich. We're not poor. We make a decent salary. We have good benefits, decent medical insurance, even though I question my medical insurance now, but decent medical insurance, good benefits. After, you serve your time. For us, we're supposed to retire at around 55 and 30 years. That's like the mat. If you get 30 years and 55, then you'll basically make about 70% of what you were making your salary. So You're getting 70% for the rest of your life of what you were making for the rest of your life. You pay into it every month, obviously, out of every paycheck for 30 years. But so you can live a decent retirement, and 55 is still pretty young to retire, right? I mean, you still can get 30 or 40 years of life out of you. That's great.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. All right. All those good benefits and stuff like that. Pretty cool. And until up to recently, the community respected you. People look up to you. You're doing good and stuff like that. Now it's a little harder. We still have a ton of people that love and respect all of our first responders. But, the media kind of plays against us these days and stuff like that. I'm sure the times will...
Another rabbit hole we could get down.
Another rabbit hole we can get down, of course. But you also deal with a lot of crazy stuff. I've been shot at 2 times. That's not a good experience. I mean, now look at COVID and stuff like that. These people that are look at our medical professionals dealing in hospitals, going in and out of COVID patients' room all day. That's tough. That's not a good time. Look at these firefighters, these cops that are dealing with people that are COVID positive, and then you potentially could bring it home to your family. What about your elderly parents? What about your children and stuff like that? Bringing it home to them. That's tough. So there's, I probably would do it again because I have enjoyed my career. My career has been a lot of fun and very rewarding, and it's provided for my family well. And I've met some great people, and I've seen some bad stuff, but I've seen some really good stuff, and I've seen the good in people because I truly believe that human beings as a whole are decent, good people. We're not inherently a bad human being. Yeah, there are bad apples, but inherently people overall in general are good, decent people. So I've met awesome people. So yeah, I'd probably do it again, even though it's tough right now, but I would probably do it again. That was a long-winded answer.
No, that's an excellent answer. It was an excellent answer. And, I'm sure people are going to love and respect what you had to say with that. It's so true. Everything you said is so true. I feel for you. I'm in the same situation.
Right.
I definitely feel the exact same way. So with all of that being said, now the second question, because our show is called Heroes First Podcast, what is your definition of a hero?
Man, that's hard. Because, people have said, you're a hero, you did this or you saved this and stuff like that. But you go home, you don't feel like a hero. You're just like, that's what I signed up to do. That was my calling. That's what was in my heart to do, was to be a cop. My heart wasn't to be a firefighter or to be a doctor or something like that. But I think that there's heroes in every profession. I could show you firefighters that have done ultra heroic stuff, that have ran into fires and stuff like that. I wouldn't want to do that. That sounds horrible. And look at these doctors, especially now, going to work every single day, knowing who knows what you could come home with. That's pretty heroic, I would say. That's super heroic, So I feel like there's heroes in every profession. Look at school teachers going back to school, dealing with this and mentoring kids and stuff like that. Some of my, upbringing and stuff like that, I'm sure the same as yours, came from school teachers, right? You were with them every day. They taught you things above and beyond what your parents taught you. So yeah, that's heroic in itself too. I feel like there's heroes in every profession. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about that.
Well,
that was a bad answer. I'm sorry.
No, that's actually a good answer. You bring up a good point, especially about teachers. Everyone, it depends where you are in your life, to really define what a hero is, right?
Right.
So I think you brought up a good point. But listen, Josh, this has been incredible talking to you.
I appreciate you.
I'd love to get you back on again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we could do a digital cook-off one day.
I like it.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. It's actually my one of our team members, she was like, you got to bring this up on the show because it's, he's into cooking and stuff. She thought this was hysterical for some reason. I just thought it was an everyday thing. We were on the show with we were on a call with someone that's in marketing, and we were getting some advice on marketing. And while I'm on the video call with them we were on Google Meet, I'm cooking and I'm making ribs in my air fryer. And he's looking at me, and I see him like looking, and he's trying to figure out what I'm doing. And I'm just like kind of acting like, it's just an everyday thing,
Right.
And I'm taking the ribs out. He's like, are you making ribs right now? Right. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why, is that weird? He's like, you're on a business call. Why are you making ribs? And I'm like, what's wrong with that? I'm making ribs. Who cares? And he's like, oh, are they good? At least then we started talking about the ribs. So it was funny.
Let me see those. Hold those up to the camera. Well, what rub did you use on those?
Exactly. That's what we started going into. But yeah, this has been great. I'd love to have you back on the show, talk some more, and listen, your campaign, everything you're going through, I feel for you. Hopefully you get, more support and you stay healthy and you stay happy. And that's definitely where you are right now, which is incredible. So, for everyone listening, thank you all for listening to episode 3 of Heroes First Podcast with our guest, Josh Dubin. And Josh, thank you again. And we'll see you all next time.
And if you find this on Instagram, you need to leave a comment that we're going to have a battle of ribs now. And it's going to be on some platform, Instagram Live. We're going to have split screen, and you're really going to have to bring your A game. And I'm going to probably have to bring my A game too. I'm going to have to do a little research, but
unfortunately it's going to be 10 hours long, but it's going to be good.
We'll be limited to the air fryer. If you can pull off ribs in the air fryer, then hey, there you go.
No, this is awesome. So thanks, Josh. And
thank you so
we'll
much.
see you all next
I
time.
really appreciate you guys.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Heroes First Podcast with Robert Garland. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. Make sure to like, rate, share, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, make sure to visit fundthefirst.com and follow us on social media at fundthefirst. See you next time.